Hello, and welcome to a new video. And in this video, we're playing some Deception, or as you could say, Infiltration. And it's starting off with a backfill. And yeah, it was interesting. So there's a pre-made on my team and a pre-made on the enemy team. I backfill as somebody on this team gave up, which is fine with me because I was already solo queuing into these guys. So having people to actually play with against them was pretty nice. I think I have some of those videos recorded. I don't know in order. I think it's all messed up right now. Sorry about that. I've been trying to get through a lot of these videos, but for the most part, being sick. I'm not sick anymore, but I was sick at the time. I'll try to get through them all between today and tomorrow, which tomorrow is my day off. Get through all those. Probably see more videos than normal for a little bit, just because I'm like back to playing again. I'm playing quite a bit until I get bored, at least. Ever since I was been gone, there's not really been any changes to the game, so there's only so much time that I'll actually play before I get bored, and especially if there's like drama that shows up again. Pretty much no matter what, with this game being as small as it is, everybody's super toxic towards each other because you run into the same people every single day, and eventually it does get tiresome to just constantly play against the same people, and not everybody's gonna like each other, and that's normal. You really do not have to like each other, but like just going one step further to be toxic to each other, I don't know, man. It's not really worth it. I would just say enjoy the game, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to when people can play such big groups, and you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's not really a win-win situation for anybody because, of course, pretty much anybody can play in a big group, and then anybody can play in a smaller group. It's completely possible. But when you basically go against what do you call it? Nobody's. That's what I mean. But basically, you kind of like get the idea. Like you go against pugs and whatnot. Solo queue is like nobody that you actually know. Nobody that's like a consistent PvPer. The matches are going to be very lopsided. Like so lopsided, it's not fun, and it's not going to be fun for the enemy team either. So really, I feel like they should definitely do something about it. I know that there's been a lot of recommendations. Maybe we just need to come up with another recommendation. Maybe something new that will make them actually listen. Let's say, hey, if you queue in a 5-man plus or a 6-man plus, you are locked into only playing pre-mates. Like maybe change the matchmaking to the point where they will just not get pops. Like have them in queue pop limbo until there's another pre-made to face, and then obviously whatever gaps there are, fill in the team. But obviously don't allow for a like a 2-man to go against a 6-man or 8-man and just fill them up with pugs. Don't do that. Do it more so like at least there have to be 5 players in the group on the enemy team. So if it's like 1 3-man and 1 2-man or something like that, make it something like that. So if you ever have more than 6 players in the group, you pretty much always go against other premates. That would definitely help the premade scene, just like in general, to fight against each other, and it would also avoid the scenario of like, hey, you guys are queuing 6 or 7 or 8 or 5, and the queue time is really long, and as the queue time gets longer, the MMR basically expands. There's brackets, and it'll expand and expand and expand to the point that you actually get a match, and it will take anybody. Once it's basically expanded far enough, it'll take literally anybody, and that match will be probably the most atrocious thing you've ever seen in your life. So if they could just avoid that as a whole, that'd be great. I feel like it's really just clogging up the queue and making the game just not fun for people. Uh, Hopefully a different perspective or a different way of thinking about it, or just a different suggestion, because it seems clear that they just don't care and are not listening to that, which is fine, right? That's kind of like their motto, just kind of ignore everything, which really sucks. I really wish somebody with a bigger voice than mine would like actually say something about it. I know Sarvista has like talked to me a couple times and has some of my stuff actually on her site, which is cool. Hasn't been updated in a long time, but you know, I don't send stuff to her very often. I don't talk to her very much. It's not like I know her, you know, kind of thing. It's more so just her getting stuff on her site. But you know, like even if she said something about it, maybe then they might actually listen. Who knows? It could be something worthwhile. I'll consider it maybe if you guys think it would actually help. Other than that, this match is going to come to the end here soon. If you guys are interested in why I'm playing Deception so much, it's mostly just because the AoE is so massive. Ever since they buffed the tactical to make it no longer use that one ability that was kind of meme in general, which was still fun to play when you had that ability, but it was pretty meme, I'm not going to lie. They also buffed the AoE radius of it. So not only is it more applicable, it flows with the rotation, and in general, it's just really good. Because discharge used to be a core burst. Is like the main part of your kit for burst you used to triple discharge. I still have clips of it from when it was, you know, a thing to do. And now it's not really, because you don't have Phantom Stride off the global cooldown anymore. And we've got things like auto crit for Maul and auto crit for Reaping Strike that it kind of lost its shine, but it's still definitely really good with the Phantom Stride 100% crit window, which is the main thing that I really like it for, is because you can kind of play it as a kamikaze, just like Hatred, except for it's actually good against yellow damage. Deception is already really good at dealing with a lot of range classes, but throw in the damage reduction that you can actually take, you have a lot of yellow damage reduction. It's like super good. Obviously Marksman still hurts a lot, but thankfully Marksman's not doing too great either, so Deception is in a unique spot where it can be good against a lot of yellow damage, and its weakness is not really shown too clearly. Obviously high damage will kill it anyway because its defenses aren't great. That damage reduction is very strong against classes that are dots. And I mean very strong. It's definitely a really good pick. I wouldn't necessarily say it's good for everybody because obviously it does take some finesse to play. But in general, the AoE radius on main class infantry is massive. It's very fun to play. If you haven't played it, try it out. It's fun. It is squishy, so do keep that in mind. Other than that, yeah, it's just fun and not too hard to play. Now to something else to talk about. I didn't really have anything planned going into this video. I just kind of like winged it, you know. What other things are on my mind? I'm trying to think. I know that, for example, how long has it been? I think it's like 2 years. We haven't really seen any meaningful meta changes. I'm not really expecting them to do any meaningful meta changes anytime soon. But I would like to see a gear increase. And the main reason I only want to see a gear increase is because I would like to see healing do better. But I think in reality, like, the gear increase is probably not really going to help them like at all. So it's kind of a loss. Obviously, some classes will benefit a little bit more from the extra stats. Obviously, everybody will benefit from it, but some classes will actually benefit more. So that'll be interesting. New gear is always fun because it means more stat pools. It means more classes can run high alacrity without griefing their total stat pool. I really love high alacrity. It definitely makes the game a lot more fun. And as you can see in this game, since it's a backfill, my DPS is higher than theirs, but their total damage is higher than mine. That's just because they've been in there for longer. So that's a little fun game on Deception. And then we get into a Quest Ball. Not very fun. There's some AoE situations in this match, which is really great because when they're going up on the ramps, kind of just following the objective, Deception and just make all this injury is just really good for this. Because you're able to pretty much just AoE anybody around the ball, which is hilarious to see, but also it's still like deadly. And another perk for like Deception is that, you know, you've got good single targets, so you're able to nuke, and you're also able to AoE nuke. As you see here, I hit really hard. And just imagine kind of like just how specs are today. AP is another good example of like this. It has sufficient AoE, but its single target is extremely deadly. Carnage is like the only exception where its single target is extremely deadly, but it has virtually no AoE. But to trade for that, it has crazy mobility, but it can be controlled a lot easier, which is an interesting place. I do think it needs some more durability to like really shine, but Shards of Mortis is just bad design in my opinion. It's way too strong. 100% critical rating on most abilities. Just it's not balanced. I think you're like 93 to like, depending on how much crit you actually run, 93 to like 100% crit rate. Even at high alacrity for Carnage, which is like 4,000 alacrity, you're still able to hit around 93% crit hit chance for your Massacre. That's insane to think about. So obviously that tactical, even after the nerf, it is pretty broken. I've never played it when it wasn't nerfed, so I never get to experience that, but you know, it is a crazy tactical. But just skipping over that, for example, in general, any burst spec is just going to perform better, especially if it has AoE options. AoE options going to be more valuable, but obviously just never give up your single target. So if you guys are like curious, you're not really sure what you should play or how you should play something, if you're ever giving up your single target in order to gain AoE, make sure that you still have a really good single target to sacrifice for that AoE. Don't do it vice versa. So if you have really good AoE, don't try to like go back to single target unless your single target is very good. So for example, slam spam on Vengeance. It's not really worth it for you to go back to single target because you can just use your slam on single target and it's still really good damage. And your AoE potential is pretty much uncapped, so therefore it's not really worth it for you to change. Now, something that's a little bit different is Pyro. Your single target was the main thing that got nerfed, right? And its AoE is still deadly. The only issue with its AoE now is that, you know, it's mainly if they stack up. People are probably not going to stack up, so most of your damage is coming from Scorch. So it leaves it in a weird position where you're kind of just forced to rely on the enemy to play silly. Like in this situation right here, I hit a 4-man carb, do quite a bit of AoE damage, but for the most part, if they just wanted to walk away, they could. But when it comes to like something like Deception, there's no running away from the AoE discharge. It's just going to come anyway. So not having too much into the AoE pool, if that makes sense, is a good idea. That's why when I play Hatred, I'm not focused on like getting reset, or not getting resets, not getting what's that one ability or talent that most people take that is not really good because it's so reliant on like what is it? I can't even remember what it's called. It's like a damage amplification for each recklessness stack, I think, or something like that. Like the uptime for that is not very good, for 1. 2, its burst is decent, and 3, it destroys your force. So even if you are a good player, it's pretty hard to make use of. I made use of it. I've done over 20k with it. I think I did like 24k or something like that. And that was like only hitting 2 targets, I think, for like majority of the game. So while it can do damage, it's not as lethal as like the alternate option because it allows you to spam more and you're able to get more procs, and that means more internal damage, and that means more lethal damage. These tanks cannot handle internal. In general, most classes can't handle internal damage, just as internal damage ignores armor. But you kind of like get the ideal there. If you put too many points into AoE, you're just kind of wasting it, and if you put too much points into single target and you're like the best AoE class in the game, you're kind of throwing. I hope that makes sense. So like, just think of it as a fine balance. Another class that's really good at being like in between, I'm trying to think. I guess really it would be like lightning, right? Lightning and madness would be a good example. So madness has like durability, so that's really nice. You can run the AoE with Tempest with Ro. It's really good because it'll re-proc your internal damage from Grief and Terror, which is really strong. But also at the same time, you could still run Death Brand if you wanted to with that setup. I've done it many times and done crap ton of damage because you can still just tab that. But you know, if you, as long as you can still maintain your single target to protect yourself, you're pretty much good. It's basically what I'm saying. Like I've rambled on forever about this, but it's something that a lot of people seem to just not think about, and they just go too much into AoE or too much into something that's silly. Like I like to run really weird talents, tacticals, stuff like that. I like to run all these weird stuff to just try it out. And then like usually I'll come to a conclusion like, hey, this is not very good, or hey, this can only work if I do this, or play like this, and so on and so forth. Like with the high alacrity stuff, like I can optimize that to be better. If you guys actually wanted to see me play high alacrity more, I could actually optimize that better than what like I originally did. I did the 589 crit just to kind of like prove a point and just have some fun, right? But I could actually make that less meme and probably more viable. If you guys were interested in something like that, I would totally be down to do that because it's actually really fun. But yeah. Then also, if you guys have been playing Arena lately, I am sorry. I am just trying to get my objectives done. I think I'm pretty much done at this point as current date. Kind of done. But if you're around to the past couple of days, sorry. You know, most of the time I've just been playing PT, so you can still just kill me and just win the game that way. PT is not too hard to kill. But outside of that, you know, just casually trying to get the arena achievement just because it's something I don't have. I do have the Warzone one, obviously, because I've always preferred Warzones. Arenas, I really do like. The only problem is I prefer heal tank arenas, and it's like so hard. They're pulling teeth try to get people to play that. Most people are just not up to par and just don't enjoy that kind of gameplay, which is totally okay. The reason why I like it is just because it takes more brain thought and more brain power, and just in general paying more attention. This game is chaotic. I have ADHD. My brain is going oftentimes faster than the game. I'm already thinking ahead. I think there's a lot of people that are just like that too. And you don't even have to be ADHD to think like that. But it keeps pace with my brain. And when something like that happens, I'm really engaged into the game. So basically when I say I'm chasing engagement, which is something that I said before, rather than like going for damage, kills, and stuff like that, I'm chasing for mental engagement. It's a very important thing to do, especially depending on whatever you end up doing. So just sitting on the couch watching TV and stuff. It's not really finding much engagement there, but when you get your brain working like that, it's very, very good for you. So I take advantage of that anytime I can. It's like constantly a struggle with nowadays with PvP, but the more you handicap yourself, you can sometimes find matches that wouldn't be competitive if you're playing meta, suddenly competitive because you're playing at a disadvantage. Obviously by disadvantage I don't necessarily mean like stuffing your gear and making it impossible to play, but rather play unorthodox things. So for example, this game I'm not playing any damage reduction, but as you can see I don't really need it at all. And sometimes you actually don't really need it. And even when you are being tunneled, if you're like the only one, even if you add the DR, you're not going to survive any longer than you would without it. So unless it's like some relatively low damage, and then sometimes you can like pull it off, especially if you're running the second wind, which by the way, if you guys are interested in what implants, it's pretty much always the Phantom Stride one with was it Shadowcraft, and then you would always run either second wind or stimulated. The only reason I would say stimulated is because it gives better damage gains than the 3% melee and force. The only reason I say that is because you get more crit rate, and that more crit rate, it's just more valuable overall. And sorry if you can hear that, my roommate is being noisy. Don't know why, but yeah. Match is almost over. Both of these games are just 20k, which is nothing special, but you know, hey, in this game you don't see me doing too much AoE, it's mostly just sustained damage. That's really all it takes. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again pretty soon.